Hey, hey, hey. Welcome in. This is episode 5.
Episode 5.
5? I should know that. That's not very high to count. Episode 5. Don't Spill the Mixie podcast.
So this is going to be episode 5, dropped on 5/5/25.
Cinco de Drinko.
Cinco de Drinko.
Alongside my
And
co-host, Matt Veneman. I'm Mark Redford. Happy Cinco de Mayo. What are we drinking?
happy Cinco de Mayo. Cheers, everybody. We got a little Topo Chico hard seltzer here today. What about you, Big Red?
I got a little margarita mix. Just whipped it up right before we jumped on. And with
Nice.
that, before we finish our cheers, we can welcome in our guest, first ever guest of the Don't Spill the Mixie podcast. Give a little bit of an
Such an
intro
honor.
here, just so everybody knows who we're dealing with. He is the self-proclaimed snack king. He is a Hall of Famer in the Granville Sports Hall of Fame. That's Granville, Michigan, for any of our global listeners out there. He is a all-MAC tennis player. Not really a sport, but we're gonna give it to him.
Going back in the archives.
Yeah, we're digging way back into the archives. He is the one, the only Matt Hamilton. Welcome to the show.
Man,
Welcome to the
thank you,
show.
thank you. You know, just have to give the people what they want. So it's an honor to be here. Honor to be the first guest. I myself also partaking in the mixie. I'm going tequila soda in honor of Cinco de Mayo as well.
Tiki So's.
Happy to
Cheers.
be here. Can't wait to get into it.
Cheers, boys.
fellas. Episode 5. Good to have you here, Snack King.
We're excited for it. We got a good one on deck here. So in today's episode, we are going to jump right in here. Matt is a massive Pistons fan, so we're going to start NBA playoffs. We're going to hash everything out there. Along with that, obviously, we're going to dive in specifically to the Pistons-Knicks series. Matt was at Game 3, so we're going to get his thoughts going to Game 3 versus regular season game, hash that all out. This weekend was Kentucky Derby weekend. Apparently, I was the only one here that watched it live, so that's exciting, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So I love horses, specifically horse racing. I think it's just this very cool subculture of a thing. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. That might be just me talking about it. We'll see. Along with that, because he's a self-proclaimed snack king, he's had some grievances with me and Matt Veneman's snack takes. So we're going to allow Matt to air some of his differences and opinions on things that we've covered.
Many grievances.
And then lastly, we're going to bring it home with a random question. We'll hash that all out once we get to that point in the pod. But I think that'll be pretty fun, something a little bit different, talking about a YouTube series that I've been watching and get everybody's thoughts on doing something similar. So we'll start with NBA playoffs. Round 2, basically, so round 2 started. It's actually going on while we're recording right now, Sunday night. The first round 2 game is the Cavs and the Pacers. Currently in middle of the fourth, Pacers are currently leading, but we'll see what ends up happening there. So obviously they're playing each other. Cavs polished off the Heat pretty quickly. Pacers polished off the Bucks pretty easily. I don't know, Veneman, you got any initial? We kind of already hashed out Cavs Heat. There wasn't really much there. Pacers kind of
No.
finished off the Bucks without much of a fight.
Yeah. I really like Indiana in this series. I don't know, like we said in previous episodes, I'm a big Siakam fan, big Halliburton fan. I think they have enough talent around them, enough support players that are going to get this done. I think Darius Garland is out. I'm not sure how long he's out, but he is a pivotal part to that team. Obviously, they have Donovan Mitchell that's going to carry them. They have Allen. They have a few nice pieces as well. Obviously, they're number 1 in the East for a reason. I just think the Pacers are coming in here with nothing to lose. They got a chip on their shoulder. Everybody's picking Cleveland in 5 or Cleveland in 6. I think if they can take this first game, that's going to be huge, and it's looking good so far. It looks like they're up 4 right now with about 10 minutes left. Yeah, I like the Pacers.
Hamilton, who you got?
I do think this is going to be a good series. I actually am with Matt on it. I do think, especially if they get game 1, I do think the Pacers are going to take the series. I think that they just have, it's very interesting. I think like getting into the Pistons Knicks a bit too, just the ability to score when the game slows down. And I just think the Pacers just are going to, they play fast. I think they're one of the fastest teams as far as pace goes this entire regular season, and I just think that like, man, to Matt's point, if you don't have a full strength Cavs team with Garland and Mitchell putting up big points, I just think it's going to be a little bit of a track meet, and I just think the Pacers have the ability to outscore anybody on any given night. So you steal one of these first two games, bring it back to the home court, I think they had a good shot. I would also pick the Pacers.
We're going clean sweep, which means we're definitely going to lose. I'm going with the Pacers as well. I think the Pacers just have more of those guys, like you were saying, Hamilton, more of those guys that can just get a bucket between Halliburton, Siakam, even Miles Turner. Matherin can get a bucket. Like, he's a big-time shooter. They are loaded with dudes that are just not afraid to take a big shot, and they have more of those guys. I think the Cavs have maybe, if Garland's playing, which he's not currently, but if he plays, I think the Cavs might have the two best individual players in the series. I think I would take Garland over Halliburton currently. It's very close, but I think that almost might be a push. But I think the four, their third and fourth best options are so much better than what the Cavs have. I would take Turner on both ends of the floor over Mobley personally. I think he just gives you a little bit more. I think Matherin's a better shooter than anybody else they've got on the Cavs too. I think he's just lethal. So I don't know. A lot rides on guys like Strus and Hunter, and if you're counting on those guys for the Cavs, I think you're in trouble. So we'll see what ends up happening there. The other side of the Eastern Conference bracket, the Knicks against the Celtics. Do the Knicks win a game, Veeneman?
I think they get one. I was debating that myself earlier today. I didn't think they have a chance to get by the Pistons. That obviously was an amazing series, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. But the Knicks are perennial playoff floppers. I'm going to stick to that. So I don't know. Part of me says it wants to get swept, but I think they're going to get the gentleman's sweep in this one, and they'll go down 4-1. They'll probably take the first game at home and be 2-1, and then they'll lose the next one at home, and then they'll lose Game 5 in Boston.
Hamilton, what do we think?
The Pistons fan in me still being a little heartbroken over the series would say that Boston would sweep them. However, I do think this is the one thing I was kind of wrestling with, because don't get me wrong, I want the Celtics to absolutely destroy them, stop with them, no gentleman's sweep, get the 4-0 and move on. But I will say I thought this no matter what, that whatever team won the Knicks-Pistons series, neither one would beat the Celtics, but both would be able to do something I don't think the Celtics got in the first series, to where they're going to like drag them into the deep end and just make it like grimy, to where I just think that like they will get a game or two. I don't think they're going to win the series, but Celtics have been off for a while. Not much of a, yes, Magic got a game in the first series, but I think Tatum sat for sure a game, maybe even a game. I can't remember if he sat out for the second game, to where like you almost knew that like, we can rest him and we're still going to get by the Magic, no problem. So, give the Knicks a little time to recover before that series starts tomorrow or on Monday. No, I don't think the Knicks will win, but I do think that they will grime it up just like they did with the Pistons series, and I think that they could steal a game or two, just make it. Again, like I said, no matter which team the Celtics played, it's not going to be a fun series for them. I just think they're too overpowering with how deep they are, and I mean they can go 8-9 strong. Where the Knicks, I mean, Tibbs is going to play all his starters, 45 of the 48 minutes. And eventually I think they're just going to grind down. If they get one injury, I think they're kind of cooked. I was looking at some of the minutes played after the series, and I think one game they literally played 6 guys the entire game. Like they just run the same guys over and over again. Robinson comes in off the bench. Deuce McBride comes in here and there, but like they just aren't going to throw the same amount of guys that the Celtics can. So I'll give the Knicks a little credit. 4-2 Celtics.
I'm going gentleman sweep too. I'm with Veneman on this one. I think the Celtics get it done in 5. I think there's a game where they sleepwalk and the Knicks bite them, and I think it aligns with Jalen Brunson going bananas and dropping like 40 or something like that, and that's the game where the Celtics kind of just sleepwalk. I think that's the one that they get. That I feel like it'll be either game 2 or game 3. Either like they get a little bit lax and the Celtics lose the second game at home, or MSG's rocking and they get it going early in game 3, ride the momentum, and then it turns into, like you said, Hamilton turns into a dogfight at the end, and kind of just it with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, it's 89-87, something like that, low scoring muck fest, and guys have fouls all over the place. Tatum's sat for a chunk of time, something along those lines, and Brunson hits some big shots.
I would be very curious. Yeah, I'd be very curious how the officiating goes, because I think that was a big point of contention both ways in the Knicks Pistons series, and with this series having this matchup, I should say, having even more of the superstar element, if you will, and how the refs officiate superstars differently. I will be very intrigued at how it's officiated after watching the full series. But yeah, we'll see. The Knicks are also like allergic to winning at the Garden when it comes to playoff games in the last couple decades. So if they don't steal one at Boston, it might be the gentleman's sweep or just a straight up sweep. So as rocking as MSG might be, we'll see. We'll see how they perform.
Yeah,
but,
Spike Lee.
I think the Celtics take care of business.
Spike Lee hasn't seen a whole lot of home W's recently in the playoffs. It's kind of funny.
He had to come to 3 games at the old LCA. He was there for all 3.
Yep.
And Ben Stiller holding it down for all Knicks fans.
So we'll finish up the Western Conference here, and then we'll pivot back to specifically the Pistons and the Knicks, because that just finished up a couple days ago. So we'll pivot back to that. Game 1, I think this one will actually be somewhat interesting. The Thunder and the Nuggets, at least my own opinions there. We'll start with Matt Hamilton on this one. Obviously, Thunder having sat for a while, barely challenged against the Grizz. The Nuggets, very deep, hard-fought, back-and-forth playoff series with the Clippers. Kind of blew them out in Game 7, but outside of that, everything was really pretty much tooth and nail. Which way do we see this one going?
This is a tough one. I think, and if we hit on the other Western Conference series, I think it's a similar dynamic for both, to where does the young team finally kind of push past the reigning leaders of the conference, if you will. Like, no, the Nuggets haven't won back to back to back. They're not a dynasty, but they have won in the past couple of years. They've made it to the conference finals. So it's like you're always going to give them a chance, because I do think, and we'll see how the MVP voting shakes up, but I truly do think that the Nuggets still have the best player on the court. And I would argue, outside of the second best player, they may have, I think it was also very similar to the Knicks Pistons series. I think, maybe Brunson Cade 1A, 1B, but I think kind of similar to SGA and Jokic, to where you have 1A, 1B. But I do think the Nuggets have the next best players outside of those two, but also I think the Thunder are also very, very deep. I think the Nuggets have the experience. Man, I think it goes 7. I'm going to pick the Thunder.
I think this one's going to be close. Veneman, what do you got?
I'm very disappointed in the Clippers. You and I had talked about them for a while, and Kawhi and everything, and then they just to come out that way and just get stomped in Game 7. Just utterly disappointed. One, because I wanted my take to be accurate. Actually, that's the only reason why. I just want my take to be accurate. So, I don't know. I just think
like a true sports fan.
I just think Oklahoma City's too talented. I think they're playing at a completely different level than anybody else in the league right now. I think they have a very, very good young core, especially coming out of the West the way they did. The West is always tough. It's always a dogfight. And I don't know. I just think again, partial bitterness from them beating the Clippers, and partial just because I think the Thunder are playing so well. I think they end up sweeping this series.
Sweeping.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think
Man,
Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma City's going to win the whole thing. I would like to see them versus Boston in the finals, and just them just to throttle Boston. That's kind of
is
what I'm
that
hoping for
a
at this
an
point.
emotional take because the Nuggets beat the Clippers? So you just want to prove that the Nuggets aren't good and have them get swept by the Thunder?
Yes, definitely. And I just think the Thunder are that good.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I mean, I think.
But yeah,
No, go ahead.
I mean, just vehement, I would say, like, it's just kind of shame on you. I get that Kawhi Leonard, has had some clutch moments. He's had some series clinching buzzer beaters. But if you ever thought that a James Harden team was going to come out and win a game 7 when it matters, I don't know what to tell you.
yeah. That's why when it went to 7, I was like, this is probably over. That's a very fair point. But at the same time, I mean, Harden he's had a bad rap for the last couple of years, right? He's gone to a bunch of different teams, and he was a diva, and he got kicked off, and then he ended up being out of shape, and just a whole bunch of different things he had been going through. And ever since he went out to the Clippers and played with Kawhi, he's played Robin to Batman, and he's kind of been in the background. And you haven't heard of him getting in any issues, any drama with him, and that's just been the weight he's been carrying for the last couple of years is he's a drama queen. Like, that's all he is. It's all about him. He wants the ball. He wants the points. And if he doesn't get his way, he's going to take his ball and go home. So
It would have
I
been
was
very
actually kind of
interesting.
rooting for him.
Yeah, it would have been very interesting had the Clippers won because I think like Ty Lue deserved a ton of credit for the coaching job he did. Because I mean, all you heard about like Paul George gets traded away, Kawhi Leonard's always hurt. They ended up as the 5 seed in the West. And granted, just like you said, it's always a slugfest for seeding. I mean, 2 games you can go from the 2 seed to the 8 seed or out of the playoffs. They ended up at the 5 seed. Draw a tough matchup with the Nuggets. Kawhi's essentially playing his way into the playoffs, and it just would have been really curious, like. Zubac could have been Defensive Player of the Year, and it would have been like. And I don't know if it showed. I mean, Jokic had some good games, but listen to some of the other podcasts, like some of the stats that he had when guarding Jokic. He is by field goal percentage and points. He is the best defender on Jokic, and it just would have been interesting had they been able to pull out Game 7 and like giving Kawhi more time, assuming no injuries. Like, would he been able to like? Do they get more cohesive as the playoffs go on? Because they just haven't had like that unit throughout the season to be able to, like, I guess, reach their full potential. So I mean, I think their season was still a success, even for like the super team that they are, just for how they kind of pieced it together to get the 5 seed. But good series. We'll see how the Nuggets do against the Thunder.
Yeah. Who do you got, Big Red? You got the Thunder, or are you taking? The new GM, new coach, perennial MVP, the Joker.
I think best player sits in Denver. I think that's not really that debatable. Although I think SGA is going to get MVP votes. I think he will get some MVP votes, but I think by and
I think
large,
he's going to win MVP.
if that happens, then
It's the voter fatigue. It's the voter fatigue.
yeah.
I mean, Jokic has 3. It's like, because you could argue, if you look at the years that they won the MVPs, so Jokic won it last year, right? If you look at the season, he has better stats. So you're saying he won it last year, has better stats. How could you not give it to him? You look at Giannis, who will not win it, but the year he won MVP, he had a better year this year and won't win it. He'll come in 3rd. And then SGA is obviously having like an all-time season. So you'd say like, hey, he was on the best team, had the most wins in an all-time season, give it to him. I don't think you can go wrong between the top 2 guys, but it is a weird situation where you have 3 MVP. Well, SGA hasn't won it yet, but you have 3 MVP caliber players, 2 that have won it and have had their best year or better years than when they actually won it. So you can't go wrong. I mean, there's a lot of top heavy talent in the NBA. So I'll be curious. I think it'll be close, but I think SGA gets it.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with that. I think people love a startup story. I think that's the biggest thing. To your point, people want something new. So, but I think Jokic should be the MVP, all things considered. I think he's currently the best player in the NBA. I think he does the most things for his team in comparison to anybody else. I guess in that respect, you might be able to make a Cade Cunningham argument, but we don't want to go down that rabbit hole quite yet. So I think the best individual player sits in Denver. I think the best collection of players plays in Oklahoma City, and I think that's true even out of the Eastern Conference. I think Oklahoma City has a better cast of characters that are more bought in and in their current roles in Oklahoma City than what Denver currently has. I've got Oklahoma City in 6. I think they take it in Denver game 6. I think it goes deep. I think it's a bit of a battle. I think the interesting thing is I don't believe either team has a great matchup for the other team's best player. I think that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I think Denver is weak at the guard positions. I think Jamal Murray is not nearly up to snuff to handle SGA when he's really cooking.
He won't guard him. They're going to put Aaron Gordon on him.
They're going to have to figure out something like that. That's even more evidence of the fact that he's not up to snuff. And nobody can handle Jokic when he's cooking. Like there's nobody out there that can guard him. Zubac is probably the closest to being able to do it, and he couldn't do it.
And I don't know if Aaron Gordon's actually going to guard him. I guess they got Christian Brown too, but that's a fair point.
So it's who's best is better against, I guess, the other team's worst, but not that makes it sound worse than it is. Who's best is better against the little bit of a weakness that the other team has. So I've got OKC in 6. Other side of the bracket in the Western Conference is the T-Wolves beat the Lakers. This one, Feenman was all over this one. Gentleman sweep. He had the T-Wolves in this one the entire way. The Lakers play 0 defense. They have no matchups anywhere on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to have to figure that out in the offseason. They're also going to have to figure it out if LeBron's interested in coming back or if he's finally going to cash that AARP check. So we are waiting on Game 7, which is tonight as we're recording. That starts in about 15 minutes from right about now. So we'll see who comes out on that one. I guess let's start there. Game 7, Rockets and Warriors. Hamilton, who do we have coming out Game 7, Rockets and Dubs? That one's in Houston.
I got the Young Guns taking out the Dynasty Warriors. They get it done. Houston as a city just finally gets the Steph Curry demons out. Steph Curry has broken their hearts so many times. Amin Thompson, as a Pistons fan, I'm rooting for the brother. Amin Thompson shuts down as best he can Steph Curry for this game. Draymond ain't doing anything. And I think the Rockets do enough. Van Vliet's heating up. I think the Rockets get it done.
Veneman, who we got Game 7?
Man, my head tells me the Rockets. My heart tells me that the Warriors. Just because the Warriors are just a more well-known team that you just want to watch, right? And if they were to advance and play Minnesota, that would be an amazing series. The Denver, OKC, like the 2 Western Conference semifinals would be just on point. To Hamilton's point, the Rockets are the young guns. They're up and coming. Van Vliet and that whole team. I'm a big Adams fan.
I love me some Steven Adams.
Man, he's just a man. Just fun to watch. He's just a bulldozer. But I'm still gonna go with the Warriors just because my heart's leading me that way. Going against playoff Jimmy is never a good thing. Then you have Steph Curry. You do make a good point. I did watch that game last Friday, and Van Vliet was he just plays at another level at some point. So I'm gonna go Warriors, and I'm gonna say Warriors end up winning by 9 in this one.
Wow,
that's a big spread in the NBA.
Yep,
especially this deep into the playoffs here.
At the end, it's going to be 3, and they're going to have to foul, and Steph Curry's going to hit the free throw. So I think it's going to be – I'm taking them plus 9.
I'm going Dubs. I'm going Golden State. I think this might be the last time we see, like, really – it's obviously not going to be, like, the last time. That's who knows how many years. But I think this is the last playoff run we see really vintage Steph. And I think Steph goes for 35-plus tonight, puts it on ice, leaves no doubt. I think he goes absolutely bonkers in Houston. This screams big player, big spot. Like, it's been a minute since he was really in a spot like this with everybody watching, with no other games really going on. When I say really, there are no other games going on at that point once this other one finishes up here in a couple minutes. So all of NBA fanhood will be watching Game 7 tonight to see what happens. I think spotlight gets brightest. Same thing like when he was taking over for Team USA back in the summer. Like, he lives for the big game. I think almost as much as anybody during this current era of players, LeBron, Steph, who am I forgetting? Kawhi, like
KD.
KD, Kawhi, Anthony Davis. This current generation, I think Steph lives for the spotlight as much as anybody. So I think he goes 35 plus. I think he cooks. I think he pushes them through. It's going to be close. I've got him. I'm going to go by a deuce. I think it comes right down to the wire.
Yeah. I do think it'll be tough because, I mean, it is the coming back from 3-1 scenario. And yes, they have gotten it back to the Game 7, but then winning that third game to make the full comeback. I mean, when you're down 3-1, what was the stat? Like 13% chance, or 13% of teams actually come back. So the odds are not in the Rockets' favor, but I'm sticking to it. Do either of you, so switching, rolling it forward to the whoever wins to play the Timberwolves, would your prediction change for the next series depending on who wins? Like, do you pick the T-Wolves over one of the two teams? If the Rockets win, because you guys are both picking the Warriors, if the Rockets win, does that change your prediction than if the Warriors win? Like, do you pick the Warriors in the next series?
No.
You're going Wolves no matter what?
T-Wolves cook. T-Wolves Thunder.
I'm saying T-Wolves win no matter what.
Yeah, can you imagine T-Wolves Thunder? T-Wolves Thunder would be two smaller cities, two smaller markets with young upcoming teams, young upcoming players. You have Ant-Man versus SGA and that whole thing. Man, that would just – I think I would watch almost every minute, every second of that series. So that's what I'm rooting for. But
yeah.
I don't think either one of these teams stands a chance against the T-Wolves. I think Anthony Edwards is playing at a completely different level right now.
I think the T-Wolves are just a really tough matchup. I think they showed that down the stretch in that individual game against the Pistons in terms of, like, just teams you don't want to play. Like, they've got Ant on the outside that can get buckets with anybody. They've got Randall and Gobert on the inside. Like, they're just a grind team. They're just somebody that you don't really want to go back and forth with. And I don't know, you get into a playoff series with them and you got to face them minimum 4 times in 9 days, could be upwards of 7 times in like 15 days.
Yeah.
Woof.
Man, I love their roster because, like, Ant is one of the few superstars that will do it on both ends of the floor. Like, if you told him, like, hey, I need you to be the best defender on the court, like, he'll do it. So you got Ant, who plays defense, who, again, good defensively. You got Gobert, who's won I don't know how many defensive player of the years. You got Jaden McDaniels, who's going to lock people up. And then you have on the flip side, on the offensive side, Ant, is going to go get a bucket with anybody. Dante DiVincenzo, who isn't like the biggest name, or like he's going to fill up the stat sheet every time, but just, I don't know. I always viewed him as like a big game player. Like, when you need a bucket, like, Dante DiVincenzo is going to hit a big shot. He did when he was in New York, and I think it was a great piece of the trade when they traded away Cat. But I don't know. I like the T-Wolves. I think the Thunder, I mean, to you guys' point, are going to be tough to beat no matter who it is. But I just would love to see that series, so I'm rooting for it.
Don't write off Julius Randle. I mean, defensively, he's obviously not like his defensive stats I don't think are great, but
he can
like
get you a bucket if you need it.
Yeah, he'll give you a bucket on offense, and he's huge. Like, he looks like the biggest version of an NFL tight end. Like, he is just broad shouldered, just eats space. Like, the court feels smaller when he's out there. So don't undersell that aspect of it.
And don't forget, we were talking about Rudy Gobert since I think the opening episode, Redford, and 27 points, 24 rebounds in that last game, and just completely dominant against the Lakers, who refused to play Jackson Hayes, they just went small ball and got dominated. So Got to give props to Rudy Gobert. I know he's been through some stuff. Him and Luka had all of their stuff from last year where they were talking their trash and went back and forth. And for him to have that game on that stage against the Lakers and against Doncic, I got to give him that. Got to give him his props.
He overcame being the creator of COVID too, way back in the day, 2020. He put it on that. Right. He put it on that microphone, right. And the rest is history. So
yep,
he's overcome a lot. So we'll see what ends up happening. Obviously, Rockets Warriors tonight. See who ends up coming out there. Let's pivot back and do a 5 or 10 minute rehash of the Knicks Pistons specifically, just because I think we all were riding Pistons pretty hard. All of us being from the Mitten, we love Detroit basketball. Let's start, Hamilton, with your overall thoughts of the series as a whole, and then we'll pivot specifically to Game 3. So Knicks clear the Pistons in 5, which I think doesn't do the Pistons justice. 6. Yep, sorry. I still don't think that does it justice with how the Pistons played. Every game was close. Every game came down to the wire.
Yeah, I mean, at a very high level, I mean, yes, I wanted them to win. It was a close series. I think a few of the games, even the last one, you just get a shot off. You never know. Maybe it goes in, you pull it out in overtime and force a Game 7. Game 1 where the Knicks go on a 22 to 21-0 run, just multiple turnovers. Like, I think the youth showed. I do think that the Pistons are way ahead of schedule. Like, it was a crazy 1-year turnaround. So no matter what the outcome of this series was, they got a few monkeys off their back. Like, they put out a good product. They got some vets. They showed some semblance of running a coherent organization after being odds on number 1 pick, lottery odds the last 3 years, or 3 out of the last 4 years. So the season was a success. It was like death by 1,000 cuts watching this series, even going to Game 3. Like, I was at Game 3 live, and that game just felt like a microcosm of the entire series of, like, you're just so close, you're right there, and it just, like, slowly just pulls away, and you lose your grip on it. But I tell you what, Little Caesars was absolutely electric. The crowd was – I haven't been to what I would call like a lot of important games or playoff atmospheres. So, again, not that it had a great baseline, but it was even the little bit that the crowd had to cheer, but they were going to cheer for anything because I think they just wanted anything to root for back in LCA. They had a win. They had a series. It was 1-1 at the time, but the sequence, and if you go back and watch it, like, I think you can even hear it through the broadcast. I've gone back to watch it on YouTube just because it was like giving me the chills, but Pistons hit a 3 to take the lead for the first time in Game 3. Knicks come down. They get a block, transition, hit another 3, and that had to have been the loudest crowd experience like I've ever heard, ever been a part of in my entire life. And it was just to get a 4-point lead. Like, it was bananas. So, I mean, just the game experience was amazing. The crowd was letting Brunson have it any chance they got, which was also incredible. So Game 3, don't regret it. Sucks that it was a loss, but it gives me hope for the go forward. I will be very curious what happens in the offseason. I would say run it back with the same team because in this series, you arguably had 2 starters out. I don't know. Jaden Ivey's been out the whole season, so I don't know what he would have given you. But, man, this series had Isaiah Stewart just written all over it with his physicality just to come in and just – if he could have given something, it would have been awesome to have him back. So all those things considered, the series was a success. The season was a success. Give it up to the Knicks. They're a tough group. But I was looking at some of the, and listening to some of the podcasts, and it's been awesome because, like, typically when you listen to some of the big basketball podcasts, the Pistons don't get any love. So it's been cool to see some of the love. But the one thing, and again, JB Bickerstaff is way smarter than me, so I'm not by no means questioning him, but the one thing, and Redford, I was texting you this in multiple games, I do not understand the subbing of Asar Thompson. I would have had him on Jalen Brunson every minute of any game that he wasn't in foul trouble. And even in game 6, Asar got subbed out with 7 minutes to go. Pistons were up 6, I believe. And that's when the Knicks go on the run. Brunson, Clutch Player of the Year award, goes on his run. And if you look at the net rating of 5-man lineups across the league, the Pistons lineup of Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr., Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, and Asar Thompson has the best net rating. I've only gone through like 50 lines, 50 different lineups, but of people that have played more than 5 games in the playoffs, they have the second best net rating of people that have played. They have the best net rating of anybody that's played more than 30 minutes together. They have a net rating of plus 15.6 points per 100 possessions. Now, it comes on the defensive side, so the net rating on defense is 95.8 points per 100 possessions, which just blows everybody out of the water. There's one other lineup, which is the New York Knicks, that also had a 95. It was 95.9 points per 100 possessions on the defensive side, but the offensive rating for the same lineup was 89.4. The Pistons lineup that has that huge plus net rating has 111 points per 100 possessions for the offensive rating. So it's just like, why? And if you look at any of the Detroit lineups, they're all better when Asar Thompson's in. So why he was getting taken out in these important moments, I just like still don't quite understand, because that lineup was arguably the best 5-man lineup of the first round. Granted, it was only against the Knicks. Like, you're not going against all these other teams, but they have, again, of anybody that's played 30 minutes or more, by far the best net rating. So I just don't understand that. I think if he plays those last 7 minutes, and if my memory's right, like, he wasn't in foul trouble because I think he came back in the last 2. But that's the only thing looking back that it's just like I wish I could get like a clear answer on. But had it been situational, I get he's lacking on the offensive side, but I think he gives you so much on the defensive side and in the transition space that like it is still worth having him out there. And for whatever reason, he wasn't. So that's my one criticism. So there's my rant on how the series went.
Yeah, I think pretty apt. Veneman, I'll throw it to you. I know you were flying back from Vegas for Game 6 and only caught the last, literally maybe last 5 minutes of Game 6, but I think you caught almost everything else the first 5 games, basically every minute. Very back and forth, very much up for grabs. Anything, some good stats there from Snack King. Well done. The net ratings, pulling it out. Anything else additional? Any other thoughts, comments?
To Hamilton's point, I think the Pistons running it back is going to be what they're going to do. Plus, I think we talked about it in a previous episode. Either KD or Giannis, there's going to be one big name key free agent that's not going to want to go back to their team, going to run it back with another young up and coming team. And I think the Pistons are ripe to sign one of those folks. I would, if Giannis doesn't want to play there, I don't know what other team he would go to that would have the additional support players there. Plus, you have Cade. I wouldn't be surprised if he would want to go to Detroit. Same with KD. You would? I don't know. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised. Man. You think about it. And you have all these super teams that are already all stacked. They're already maxed out on cap space. They're already maxed out on having 2+ players of his caliber. So if he wanted to go there, or like KD or one of those guys that are coming up for free agency, or they want to try something new, or Devin Booker, something's going to change with the Bucks and the Suns.
I agree. I think that the problem is that those guys. I was just looking up Giannis's contract because like they're not gonna. He can't just leave, right? It would have to be a trade. And I've seen like the fake trades on Twitter where it was like, you know, Pistons fans, would you give up Tobias Harris, Jalen Duren? I don't remember if Ivy was in there or not, but it might have been like one other player and like 3 first-round picks. And it's like, man, you get Giannis, but like, would you really give up like your core, like 2 of your 3 young core, 3 first-round picks? Tobias Harris, who was like, granted, he's never going to be like a superstar, but I think he was a great calming vet presence and, you know, had some big moments. So it's like, man, I don't know, to like blow it up after one good year. Maybe if like next year they like got a little bit farther, did a little bit better, then it's like, okay, now you know you're like the one guy away. Um, but man, I would just run it back one more time before. And the one that, like, again, I don't know if it's realistic or not because it would also have to be a trade based on his contract. But the one that I would love to see because I think he just fits alongside Cade because Giannis also has got to have the ball in his hands. I think Cade is like a Luka Doncic light where you want the ball in his hands because he's going to play make. He's going to more often than not make the right decision, whether it be scoring or distributing. So if you could get a Devin Booker, bring him home to Detroit, like that would be if we were going to go after like a big fish. I know Giannis is better MVP caliber, but like I would love to see a Devin Booker in Detroit versus like a Giannis. If they were to make some crazy move, I think that's a safer crazy move if that makes sense than like a Giannis. I don't want anything to do with KD. I don't think he's a winning player anymore. Injury prone, too expensive. I'd pass on KD.
Booker and Giannis both expire after next season, don't they? If I'm not mistaken, they're both free agents after this coming season.
Giannis has a player option in 27-28. He's unrestricted in 28-29. So could he turn it down? Sure. He makes, I mean, it's $63 million.
Probably
so
going to, based
think,
on how the money keeps moving upward. Like he's got more money available if he turns it down and re-signs, more than likely to.
Yeah. And Booker goes through 27-28, no player option. So he's just straight signed.
I think I was listening to a different podcast talk about the Bucks dealing Giannis, and I think they made a really good point with it. The Bucks, because they have been a part of a bunch of other trades, they've gotten rid of a bunch of their draft capital. They have no draft capital in the near future. So the only way that they're going to be interested in dealing him is, to Hamilton's point, they have to get current players back. They're not going to be interested in receiving a bunch of draft capital back from, because if you're getting anybody that's any decent, like he's not going to be interested in being dealt to a non-contender, and the Bucks aren't going to be interested in trading with a current contender looking to add one more piece to get him over the hump, because you're talking about draft picks that are 20 plus or later in the first round, like the last third of the first round. So he's got to come, like, you've got to get rid of active current NBA assets, and that I think gets really, really tricky really fast.
The other thing that I'd be curious on, and I'd have to like go back and brush up on what the rules are. But I do like, I'm like a amateur cap nerd. The other thing that I'm not sure how it works with the Suns, and I know the Pistons are not in the first or second apron as far as like the tax goes, but I know the Suns are. Like they had to go into the second apron, and I know there's a bunch of new rules about teams in the second apron to where like, because the old way, even if you had all these superstars signed to these massive contracts, you could trade one superstar on a big deal essentially for like three or four smaller mid-sized deals and like draft capital as long as the dollars worked. But I think there's rules, and maybe the Pistons are in a spot where it would work, but I know teams in the second apron, like it's like one for one, dollar for dollar. They can't take back any more dollars than what they're going out, and it's got to be a one for one, and like it really handicaps you. Now, I've heard about people in like Devin Booker potential trades, so maybe like depending on the team, it doesn't matter if they're trading him into a bunch of space. But I don't know if the Pistons have enough space to just sign him. Like they'd have to send dollars back, and I don't know if the Suns would be allowed to do that based on their cap situation. So I know Matt Ishbia, another Michigan. I don't know if he's from Michigan or not, but I'll call him a Michigan native. Said when he signed all those
MSU
guys,
grad,
like 29.
anyway.
I know he's an MSU grad, but 29 other teams would like to be in. Would trade their teams for his team right now. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but we'll see how the cookie crumbles. Booker reps Detroit all the time, so I'd love to see him in a Pistons uniform.
Yeah, he's over here somewhat frequently on the west side of the state too. He's not a stranger to
Granville
Michigan.
alum.
Yep.
I'm in the Hall of Fame. He's not in the Hall of Fame yet. I could
Wow.
make a couple calls.
Wow. Beat him
He
clean
was
to
at
the
Granville
punch.
for a
Who
year.
would have thought? Who would have thought? Things you never would have thought could happen. Here we are. So we'll see what happens. A lot to come here. NBA free agency and everything else. NBA off season coming in a couple weeks. We're only a couple weeks away from it. So always this league, hashtag this league. Always always keeping it interesting. Next thing on the docket here, we'll pivot pretty
Hey,
sharply.
real quick, Big Red. We got a breaking news: Pacers 121, Cleveland Cavaliers 112. Final.
Ooh,
Game one
upset.
goes to the Pacers.
To the
Yep.
gold,
Yep.
the blue and gold. Look at that, Indiana coming out strong. I
there's-
like it.
There's game one going home game, but it does sound like Garland's going to come back and play. He just has a bad toe, but yeah, they're going to need him now after
Turf
that.
toe.
Exactly. So Pacers 1-0. There we go.
We like it. All right, we'll see what happens with that one here as we go. But I think that one's going to be a fun one, back and forth. Sharp pivot here, and apparently I was the only one that watched it, as I mentioned earlier. I love watching horse racing personally. If we had more horse racing available in the state of Michigan, I would be very apt to go watch it live. I think that would be very fun. I was actually talking to a girl on my team in the office that's involved in horses, very avid horse person, and she was giving me some tips on where some of the best places, not the big name venues, were. So that was kind of fun earlier this week. Kentucky Derby, first weekend in May, always very fun. Feels like another just, hey, spring has arrived, spring has sprung, kind of along with the Masters, one of these things where it just makes spring fun. Sovereignty beats journalism in Baeza in the Kentucky Derby, the 151st running. I saw there was a lot of spicy takes in the comments about how sovereignty beat journalism, this, that, and the other thing. Right wing politics was all over that one the last day or so. I thought that was pretty funny. Everybody had to get their way in there. Anybody have any other information or takes on the Derby? I know both of you guys watched highlights. I love horse racing. You guys obviously don't like it as much as me because you didn't watch, but horse racing's fun. It was a mud fest, so that was interesting.
That was the only part that I found interesting, was just how muddy it was. Other than that, couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, that was interesting, and I can't believe they actually ran that race. I didn't even know they ran it if it rained. But just the sheer amount of, how do you even see? How do the horses see through that? How do the jockeys see through that? It's just, you're looking forward, and it's like driving behind a car that's spraying water and mud in your face constantly. And you're trying to maneuver and try to get around different horses. So, I don't know. That would just be absolutely crazy to be part of. The other thing I always take away from horse racing is whoever this trainer is, Bob Baffert.
What a pimp.
I always remember his name. Once a year it comes around. To your point, it's like the Masters and that kind of stuff, but it's always Bob Baffert. He always has a couple horses in the race, pun intended. So yeah, that the finish was good. It was just absolutely crazy, the amount of mud and water and everything. So, and then you got all the people with the hats and dressing up and doing their thing. And I know a couple of people from the office went. They were posting some pictures on Facebook. So I'm sure it's a great event to go to. And like Hamilton was saying before we jumped on, the fastest 2 minutes or something like that in sports. Lot leading up to it, a lot of training, a lot of people traveling, a lot of people getting dialed up. But to your point, Redford, it's horses and it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, just didn't have a chance to fully catch it yesterday, unfortunately.
I do appreciate the fun stats. So like the sovereignty beating journalism, kind of tongue in cheek, was kind of funny. But then I also saw it on social media, and I don't know, Redford, if you had seen this, but every horse in the race was a descendant of Secretariat. Crazy. Like that I like that type of stuff. Like that's wild. Like as much as I don't know anything about horse racing, like I think everyone knows that name because of the movie. So to see that every single horse in the race was a descendant of Secretariat is absolutely mind-boggling.
I was texting my dad afterwards. I was like, it's crazy that these horses get done and basically they get put out to pasture and they don't do anything. And he laughed. He sent me a text message back. He goes, they are doing anything but nothing. He's like, these horses are being put up for stud and they are going to town. He is like, because even if all you have is the prestige of being like the 20th horse in the Derby, you still have prestige. Like you're still probably considered like the 20th best horse that year in the world. which is
Well, and
true.
it's still crazy that after, so what was it? They said after, so 1973 was when Secretariat won in the Kentucky. It's still the fastest ever time.
That is
That
wild
horse,
that it's held like
1973.
50 some odd years, 53 years, 52 years.
Yeah, 53 years. That's crazy. And now every horse is a descendant. Like that type of stuff is cool.
I just think it would be so unbelievably awesome to be. It's one of those things where like part of why I like watching it is it's not dissimilar to this lens we have in golf to Augusta and the Masters. Like it's a very finite time of having a view into these elite people's lives because it's just something that I wasn't an equestrian. I wasn't like at my high school we did have an equestrian team. We had like I think 3 or 4 people that participated in it. I wasn't friends with those people. I'd never had horses. I was not raised on a farm. I don't know anything about that. So like the whole horse farm life is so just outside of my realm of knowledge. And then you combine that with like this elite level of money. These horses are being bought for, I don't know. I would have to imagine millions, tens of millions of dollars would be my hunch. Some of them. And then you spin that forward to just the whole like showcase and exhibition that is the Derby. Cause it's not like the other 2 pieces of the Triple Crown. Like there's so much prestige. There's so much, prominence with it, just like Augusta National in terms of like the majors for golf. Like it's that same level of prominence. Like the green jacket carries so much more weight than even the British Open or the PGA or the US. Right.
I was looking up what some of these horses cost. So only 2 in this year's Kentucky Derby cost more than $1 million.
I feel like that's probably
Sandman and
strange.
Baeza.
I feel like that's probably strange.
I don't know.
Obviously I don't have any background or any context for that, but just
So, according to this list, the most expensive horse ever was, I don't even know how to say it, Taiba, sold for 1.7 million.
Tiava. I don't know. I've never heard of that one before.
Tiaba? I'm not sure. But that is the most expensive.
Okay.
Oh, wait, sorry. No, I take that back. Dang. 2000 something Pegasus sold for $4 million. Got a first place finish. Crazy.
And like to the overall money to me doesn't seem worth it either. Because like if you pay that much, like what's the winnings? What did I'd have to look that up here too. Like I feel like
Let's
it's
see
not
here.
$4 million.
So let's see. Churchill Downs, 3.1 million
Oh yeah.
is the
Okay.
purse.
Yeah.
The winning jockey gets 10% of it, 310K. Dang.
Which is yeah. I mean that's a lot of money. When you don't like
Yeah.
if you like dive deep, I've watched some YouTube videos, which obviously makes me a media expert on all this stuff. So a lot of these jockeys don't have hardly any experience riding these horses either. Like it's not like this long-term existing relationship. Like sometimes the first time they ride is at the Derby, which is nuts. So
So the winning horse got, or the winning team got 3.1 million, which is more than the entire purse of 2023. So this year, winner 3.1 million, second place gets a million, and then it gets cut in half after that, 500K, 250K, then fifth place getting 150K. Not a bad day at the office.
I would have to imagine the 3.1 million if you win the Derby is a drop in the bucket too, in terms of the overall longevity of what you're going to retain with earnings from stud fees. I would imagine
Oh
that's where the
yeah,
long-term
100%.
benefit is. I have no idea
Yeah.
what that costs, obviously, but just this whole thing just like multiplying and like imagine having one with Secretariat. Like I don't even know who owned Secretariat or what the winnings were, but to spin that forward 50 some odd years and people are all descendants of that, like the stud fees for him, man, insanity.
It would also be interesting to see or know outside of the person, outside of the money that's involved with it, how much money was bet on like DraftKings and sports books?
So
And
it's interesting you mentioned that because the horse betting part of that is a different subset of the overall sports betting thing. And sports betting isn't fully live in North Carolina, right? Is that still a thing?
no, it is. It's been for about a year, so yeah, we can do DraftKings and all that kind of stuff. We just can't do the casino.
Okay. So the guys I follow a bunch of Barstool stuff, big Barstool guy. They were pushing DK Horse, which is DraftKings new horse subset of their sports betting thing, and that is only live and active in 11 different states, which is interesting to me. So I don't know what the rules and the regulations are, but horse betting is not nearly as available as regular sports betting for whatever reason. I don't know why that is. I don't know what causes that, but for whatever reason, they're only, even though DraftKings I think is available in like almost, I think most states, more than 50% of states now at this point, they're only available in 11 of the 11 states for horse betting.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. I know a lot of that. My guess would be a lot of that has to do with the wanting people to bet at the track and having that be like
A destination type thing.
yeah, exactly, a destination and that type of thing. Not so my yeah, they would probably want to keep that at the track because I used to go. We used to go on spring break. We used to go to the dog track and that kind of stuff. And you get the whole booklet and you'd get the read ups on it and the breakdowns and the odds. And it's just a whole different feeling when you're there and being able to bet versus just being able to do it on your phone. So it'd be interesting to see if a lot of that is just because they want people to go to the Derby and the destination and do the betting at the track.
Same thing as Vegas losing their grip on like the sports books when those were going live. Like same kind of thing. Like people throw more money around when it's live and in person, and like you get the emotion of it, and like you just kind of start throwing stuff around like that. Like I think it's the same vibe, same mentality probably. So I would agree. I would bet it's probably associated with the locations themselves resisting and holding things up. But I like it. I think it's fun. Just a little weird odds and ends thing. Next part of our discussion this evening. So the Snack King himself has joined us. Obviously, we've touched on that. A big part of the first 4 episodes here of the podcast have been discussing some, I don't want to say controversial food takes, but some food.
No, they were controversial.
Some takes of our food thoughts that, for the most part, Veneman and I are in agreement in, other than the cinnamon rolls. I think that's a preposterous take, but
and the soggy cereal.
The soggy cereal, there's no place for that.
You were not a fan of that.
No, there's no place for that. I agree with that. So, but even with that, the Snack King has aired some grievances with some of our takes. I think number one, right off the bat, the Cheez-It take, the fact that Cheez-Its are some of the best cheese-based snacks available. Let's start there.
So, don't get me wrong. Cheez-Its being one of the best cheese-based snacks, sure. I do like Cheez-Its, but I think the take, or there was some talk about the extra toasties, can miss me with that. It's just a way for them to sell the burnt ones.
Definitely.
So like,
I think we're in agreement on that.
Ground,
Yep.
But you also said they were good. Like
No.
to me, I didn't think. We said they were bad.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
I mean, I
We're in
don't.
agreement then.
My wife.
I have to go
eats
back to. I'd have to go back to episode 1 to see what you had actually said about the toasties, but to me, it's got to be things that have some flavor, like plain Cheez-Its. I would rank below Cheddar Jack. I'd rank below the Pepper Jack. I'd rate below the Hot and Spicy. Like, there are just so many better iterations of Cheez-Its that you just need to expand your horizons a little bit. This is my big grievance with Guys Weekend too. So we all go on this Guys Weekend and we go and load up on groceries and snacks and whatnot. And all these vanilla people that I hang out with and call my friends want these plain snacks. And it just blows my mind that they just want these unflavored I don't know. I can't even go into it about this unflavored, uncultured snacks that these people consume. But yes, I do like Cheez-Its, but I would not eat plain Cheez-Its. Like if I could have anything else that has a little bit of flavor, a little bit extra seasoning, like that's what I'm going for. And then even outside of cheese, it's not even cheese based. And hopefully you guys have a segment on just like best overall snacks. Because like pretzels, you got Schneider's pretzels that are just out of this world. You got Gardettos. Like there's so many great salty snacks out there that I think just need to have their appreciation shown on a platform such as this. So that was one. Other food take.
So
Beeman, go ahead. Go
the
ahead.
one beef, the one rationale with the plain cheese it, and you know me, I do like flavors. You're the snack king. I'm normally known as the condiment king. I can't have anything without a condiment. So I agree with you. The premise of it was if you're out on the end of the dock, having a beverage, bobber in the water, what's your go-to snack? And I went with the regular Cheez-It because you don't get the powder all over your hands. Let's say you got to put a worm on the hook. The fish are going to smell the cheddar jack. They're going to smell the three cheese Italian. All that powder is going to be on the worm. And you're going to get the powder
No,
all
no.
over. It's going to be cake.
See, this is where
it's going
you
to be
just
on your pants. And then
Your
on your
pants.
pants, on your shirt. And then
Matt, this is where
it's
you
game
just
over.
take the bag. You take the bag or the box and you just go straight to the gullet. You don't need to get the fingers involved. You just go from,
My mind could be changed. I guess you're right.
you just go from bag to gullet.
He just Rudied us right there with Rudy's comment after episode 2 of guys, you can just eat the whole Reese's in one singular bite. You don't need to go right to the middle.
Yes.
To fill everybody in, Matt Wiedemann's dad Rudy commented on our second video and was scolding us for our Reese's takes about which shapes are the best. I believe, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I believe Rudy would make the argument that all Reese's are equally good because they all go down in one bite, would be his argument based on the comment that he left. So we'll see what
Yes.
he weighs in at after this one.
And tell
Yes.
you what, the apple doesn't fall far. I've never met your dad, Wiedemann.
I
I've
knew
only
that was
heard good
coming.
things. He's gonna listen. So I apologize in advance. What a terrible take.
We're making
may
takes
all
on
go
his
down.
behalf, too.
Hang
That's
on.
the thing.
Hang on. They may all go down in one bite, but the ratio still doesn't make all Reese's equal. This is where I agreed with you guys. You guys had a great take on the shapes, the eggs, the Christmas trees, the whatever the jumbo or the extra
Pumpkins.
big, like the pumpkins. Yes, the eggs, the trees, the pumpkins are definitely higher ranked than the run of the mill Reese's. So to his credit, yes, they all probably can go down in one bite, but I think Matt, you made the point that the ratio makes a difference, and a little bit more of the peanut butter to the chocolate does something to me.
What is your take on the thins? I know we talked about thins. My buddy Mark Brower, when we go to Florida, he had a bag of thins in the freezer. Are you a thins every once in a while? And only because I asked, because thins to me seem like more chocolate to peanut butter because that's the only way
Yeah.
they can make it thin. So what's your thoughts
So-
on the thins?
So I have not tried one, and I know you can't knock it till you try it, but just the concept I think is just like, what are we doing here? I wouldn't. So I haven't tried one, and I don't plan to try one for all the reasons that I just said. Is like I prefer the peanut butter having a larger ratio to the chocolate. So I mean, the normal ones are thins to me at this point. So I just go for the shapes. I go for the shapes. Can miss me with the thins.
Yeah, the regular cups are thin enough for me. Like that, I feel like I'm
100%.
I feel like I'm dieting if I eat the regular cups. Like that, just like
Yep.
oh, I'm taking it easy today. I don't need to work
Yep.
out now. I don't need to hit the Peloton. We're eating regular ones.
It's a good diet.
My overall premise to add on to what Veeneman said about the Cheez-It, the reason for me that it completes this circle is that it plays in all arenas for me. If you're talking about like a social setting of snack foods, like anything with that dust of cheese makes it so much more socially unacceptable. Like if I'm at the office and I pack my own lunch and I've got a bag of Doritos in my lunch. As soon as I get done, I immediately have to go stand up. I have to make sure that I only eat the Doritos with one hand because otherwise you're cooked. So you have to eat them with just one hand. And then immediately after you're done, you have to stand up and bolt it for the nearest sink because you can't be that guy that just sits there and smacks your fingers. There's no getting that back once that's out of the once that cat's out of the bag. You're just a finger licker guy in the office, and that's just going to be the premise of who you are as a person going forward. So you can't get that back. The other thing, so just they're good. That's why like they have I would say like overall flavor they're probably like a 6.5 to a 7, but like that just the well-rounded nature of the snack themselves to be able to eat them in any given setting. Like they're good if I'm eating them at home by myself, where it would be socially acceptable for me to just sit there and suck my fingers clean of cheese dust. I don't care. Like that at that point, like I'm by myself, I don't care. But also if I'm at the office, they're just as good and more and even more socially acceptable. So like if I have the option to pack my own lunch, I'm going to grab the Cheez-Its over the Doritos for that reason alone. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you guys just need to get more snacking skills. Like whether I'm having a bag of chips from Jimmy John's or a bag of Doritos or whatever, I don't like my fingers getting dirty at all. I don't want any dust, like whether I'm at home or not. You crunch them up in the bag. Again, bag straight to mouth. It's just how it's got to go. And you just avoid the fingers altogether. Like that's just how you just got to work around. Like you got to, if you want the best snack, because dust aside, Redford, you take the Doritos or you take the cheddar jack cheese. So that tells me that it's the better snack. You just got to figure out a different strategy to consume them. So
I just don't want.
that's my take on your cheese base.
I don't want crumb. I don't want crumb everything either. Like I avoid the bottom of the bag of everything. I don't want like
Yeah.
do you just
Fair.
when you bring it home from the grocery store, do you just pound your bag of Doritos into oblivion so that it's just dust so that you can just pour it?
I'm not a big Doritos guy, but most snacks, whether it's the Snyder's pretzels, like those aren't like mashed up. Like you definitely have bigger pieces, just bag, just straight drinking out of the bag. Same thing with
That makes sense that you
same thing with
love
Gardettos.
those. That makes sense that you love those more than anything, though, because the Snyder's is what I'm talking about. Because my biggest pet peeve, I put those in the same level of frustration as, even though they're very good, the same level of frustration as the Steak and Shake pencil fries. I can't pick them up.
Ooh, those are also good.
See, like I can't. There's just like I'm sitting there, like I feel like I'm using chopsticks to
Yeah.
pick up these pretzel, like the dust, and to try and get it up because the
Yeah.
bits are so small. But like that final pour, like so I put them in a bowl. That final pour of the Snyder's at the end of the snack session, it is 10 out of 10. It's exquisite. So
Yeah, just a couple other quick hitters on the bad takes. Orange cinnamon rolls. What are we doing? That's just craziness.
I actually got some good feedback on that one. So if you check the Instagram, we'll share the handle later. That you'll see some folks on there agreeing with me. So I don't feel
Was it
so
Brian
bad about
Dawkins?
that. No, I wish it was though. But we'll hashtag him in here and see if he'll give us a good shout out.
he's a Philly guy. I bet B-Doc rolls with the orange cinnamon rolls. It seems like a him thing to do. I don't know the guy, but I bet you Rudy probably rolls with the orange cinnamon rolls too. That,
Oh yeah,
again,
he's the one that got me addicted.
yeah,
to
I was
it.
gonna say again, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So
Yep.
shout out Rudy.
So
I'd be okay with my dad and I and Brian Dawkins. That's a good trio.
orange cinnamon rolls. Other one, just quick hitting on it. The soggy cereal, man. I'm sorry, man. Like that's just good. Anything the soggy that you just leave in there, that's just craziness to me. That's a
I don't know.
textural.
It's-
To me, that's more of a textural thing. Like I think the flavor's probably there, but I like a little bit of crunch with the cereal and the milk, or like cookies and milk. Like I don't want it to be just like a liquid. I want it to have a couple different textures when I'm consuming it. But
Yeah, I don't.
that's just more of a.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. I was thinking more on that because there were a few people that called me out on that. I always get called out on that, but a lot of it is I tried it the other day. I ate some cereal and didn't let it get soggy, and it just gets stuck in your teeth. It gets stuck up in the roof of your mouth and the side, and it gets all caked. And you got to get your finger up in there and get it all out. Where if it's just soggy, it's mush. You crunch it, swallow it, gone. Doesn't get stuck in your teeth. You can go on about your day. You don't have to pick your teeth with your finger. You don't have to brush your teeth. You just move on. I think that's probably the biggest thing for me.
What are you, a geriatric? Like, you
Hey,
gotta get out of your
I'm not too far away. We talked about LeBron earlier collecting that AARP or whatever, Social Security. I'm right there with him at 40. So
His hairline looks infinitely worse than yours. So you got that going
Hey, I'll
for it.
take that.
Yeah,
I'll take
you got a lot more on top than he will ever have ever again. So And he shows up to the post game interview sitting in his locker, and he's got his little brush. And I love seeing that on the old X. People are like, "What is he brushing? He's got nothing up top. Whatever he's got, he's massaging it out after the post game." So we had to rehash snacks. The last segment here. I think this one's going to be a good one. This will be something unlike anything else that we've done before. So I've been watching this YouTube series. It's been very interesting to watch. I would encourage anybody listening to watch it. The channel that it's on YouTube is called, the guy's name is Ruben Schmitz. He's from Holland. Him and his buddy started this series where they are trying to travel from, starting in Europe, they are trying to travel to all 7 continents without using any money to begin with. So they're hitchhiking. They brought backpacks with tents, and they are trying to scrub up money wherever they can. So they're more or less like panhandling, hitchhiking, couch surfing, repurposing that money. So when they do get money, they'll go into a store to buy some stuff, and then they sell that, like more or less different versions of like lemonade stand mentality type of thing. So very interesting series. If you want to go and watch it, it's a long series too on YouTube. Each episode's like 20 to 30 minutes, and they're on I think today was episode like 13. So like you could binge it like a YouTube or like a Netflix series, something like that. So very interesting. They haven't finished it yet. The end will be cool. But I wanted to get into this. First of all, first question to both of you. We'll start with Veneman here because I'm very interested to see who his answer is here. If you have one person to bring with you, so that's it. He's got a buddy that's traveling with him throughout this whole thing that is also helping him film and everything else, and they're both tag teaming this thing. So if you have one person to travel with, who are you bringing?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I've been racking my brain here for the last hour plus since we started. You think you really want somebody that's well-traveled. You want somebody that's experienced. Bilingual probably wouldn't hurt either if you're traveling in different continents and you need to have that language barrier. I don't really have anybody that fits that mold, but I do. My buddy Schwab, my buddy Russ Clark, him and I have traveled quite a bit together. He's well-traveled. I just think he's got that survival mentality. He's always hustling. He's always looking to barter. He's always looking to trade. He's always looking to get something done. I just think I would probably end up taking him. I debated on taking my dad just for the aspect of having my dad come with me. But ultimately, I think I'm going to have to go with Russ. And it would be interesting to try it. Like if you had enough money where you didn't have to work and you could take time off and just go do it. It would also be nerve-wracking at the same time. Like, where do you sleep? Where do you do this? Where do you do that? So you definitely have to be mentally prepared for a lot of different things and scenarios going into it. You'd probably have to go somewhere in the States to just try it out. But I'm going to have to end up checking that out. So you have to send me that link here eventually. But I think I'm going to go with my buddy Russ, and we'll just survive and make it happen.
Hamilton, who you taking with you?
So I kind of had a similar mindset of like who would just be good at a challenge like this, and who would make up for my weaknesses, which in this case, based on the kind of premise of the show, the whole concept would be my weakness. So I'd go with, I have two options.
As a homebody, I would agree.
Yeah, one Wiedemann kind of gave me a good tip. Like, so my dad is very well traveled. He's been all over Asia, all over Europe, South America. So like he would at least have some sort of like, if we could at least get to those destinations, he could at least operate within those to some extent, just because he has experience. Probably the only person I know that would have, or at least in close proximity to my daily life, that would have experience in multiple different continents. How resourceful he is, not sure. So my initial thought was the guy who was the best man at my wedding. His name's Bob. He has traveled a decent amount, but he's just very resourceful. He's a very nature-oriented guy. Like, he's the type of guy like, hey, let's go out and hike with just like a tent and we'll figure out how to boil water or whatever. So like at the very start, like he would help me survive. So he would be like the survival. And then that's when, like, once we kind of built up our resources, that's when I think like then it's my time to shine and I can get us around and into different situations. But out of the gate, I would be lost. I'd be up Shit's Creek with no paddle. I don't know if we can swear on this podcast, but I'd be up it with no paddle. So I need somebody that gets us off the ground, and I think he's my guy. He could help us survive, and he's also very directional based. So like whenever we're going anywhere, he's like, yeah, turn left up at 4th Street by the big rock, and then we'll take a right over here. So like I just know we wouldn't get lost if he was on my team. So he'd be my number one choice.
I know Bob a little bit, having been in your wedding, hung out with him a few times. He does have a vagabond mentality, so to speak. Kind of, we're gonna go with the breeze. Wherever the breeze is blowing, that's where we're gonna call home today.
Yeah, he's fly by the seat of his. That's why I think like out of the gate, he would dominate this type of competition. Like, where are we sleeping? Behind this rock, up this tree. I can climb this tree. He's a rock climber. Like he just would do whatever. So yeah, he's definitely a go with the flow type of person. So out of the gate, I think he'd have a leg up in this type of competition.
Yeah, he is very easygoing too. I think he would be good for morale. I think that's a part of it too. You got to have somebody that you're going to get along with really well. Because if you guys watch it, you'll see like they do a good job of chronicling their ups and downs. Because obviously, like there's some pretty high highs where they like strike gold and like things really click their way for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it may be, and everything like the stars align for a little bit. And then there's other times where they're just grinding and like they literally have no answers as to what's going to happen. And it's kind of weird how things just come to fruition for them. So very interesting series. My person, without a shadow of a doubt.
Big Red, real quick before Hamilton to squeeze as much juice out of the orange, and you and I are pretty similar. I think you got me beat a little bit on the frugal side. So to get by without having money and not needing fancy things, and how to turn 50 cents into $50. I do agree with you there. You just need someone to get you off the ground, and then you would be able to do that. So that was kind of my thought process on that for you. So I agree with you. Sorry, go ahead, Big Red. My bad.
No, I agree with that too. Because if and when you watch it, you'll see that too. They do a good job of more or less kind of like multiplying money. Like there's an entrepreneurial skill of taking the money that you receive and being able to turn it into more money, and they do a pretty good job of that. And like they identify opportunities for that really pretty well. So that part of it is interesting. You do need also like a subset of an entrepreneurial mind to make this kind of thing happen and make your money last, which is kind of interesting to watch throughout the whole thing too. Without a shadow of a doubt, there's one person that I would bring with me, and that's our buddy Derek. There's just no chance that I would pick anybody else. He has so Derek's originally, shout out Derek, originally from Cameroon, moved to the States, still lives here in Michigan with us. Really good buddy of ours. He's what I would call currently a world traveler. Basically, just you could text him and he could be in 2 different places, 2 different weeks, and there's no rhyme or reason. He is similarly to how you described Bob. He's the go with the flow. Like somebody brings an opportunity to do something, he's just going to jump at it. Like, oh, hey, I'm flying to so-and-so, and I ended up with an extra ticket. You want to go? Oh, yeah, I'm in. Like, where are we going? It doesn't matter. I'm just going to go. Like, I'm going to drop everything. He's just going to go with the flow. So he's also very unreachable on a day-to-day basis. You could try to text him, and you may or may not get a response for upwards of a week, but the dude just knows how to make stuff happen. Very likable personality, very outgoing. Wouldn't have a problem connecting with people in terms of, you'll see in this series, they end up having to just talk to strangers constantly, and he doesn't struggle with that whatsoever. Like, you have to break down that barrier pretty quickly in order to survive. So he kind of has that mastered. Has no issue approaching anybody. Very comfortable in almost any setting. So I would absolutely bring him. The next portion of what I wanted to talk through, and I think this one will get a little bit heated. Do each of you, how far do each of you think you would get in terms of overall continents? 1 through 7. We'll start with Hamilton on this one. How many if you set out on this journey, say you work restrictions, whatever, you'll have your job perfectly when you come back. Go do it. How many continents do you think you would hit?
Well, see, for me, it's almost better if like work was part of it, because I have the opportunity to go to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, including North America 5. So work-wise, I would have an opportunity based on what I do for a living to go to 5 of the 7. So that would honestly help me, but I wouldn't be using my own resources starting from scratch. So I think, man, if I could somehow see, this is the thing, I'd have to have a strategy. If I could get to Europe, I think I could hit a bunch. But if I can't get to Europe, I'm screwed. I might not get out of North America, to be 100% honest. So if I could get to Europe, somehow get enough money to end up over there. North America's covered. That's easy enough. I guess if I could maybe sneak through the border or something, and I don't know, they'll probably just let me through. So then I could hit South America, get to Central America, get into South America somehow. Although I think that's probably a dangerous route. Maybe catch a boat or like a small type of flight. So maybe I could scratch South America off the list and then somehow scrabble enough money together to get to Europe. Then I think it's really easy. Cheap train ticket, cheap bus ticket. You can connect. It's easy to connect a lot of English speakers over there. So I think like if I could just get to Europe, then by bus, by train, whatever, I could hit Europe, Asia. It's pretty easy to also get to Africa from there, at least Eastern Africa. I think Australia is tough. I think the cost and just the geographic location, like Australia is probably out for me again, unless somehow I get enough money. That's just a plane ticket you got to get enough money from. Antarctica, I'd die. No chance of that. So I would say like, I think my floor is 2. My ceiling is 4.
So, and for additional context here, they are on the video series, which was recorded over the course of like the last, well, they're working on, he's been editing it for an extended period of time, but they're in month 3 in the chronicle of the series itself, and they're not finished yet. So
okay, so 3 months. How many continents have they hit?
they've hit 6 out of 7 currently in 3 months. So just to give you a basis
so I'm
point
guessing
for
Antarctica is the last.
yes, so
Yeah.
to give you a scale of how long this took them and like how long it would take. Like obviously, to my knowledge, both of these guys are single guys. That plays a huge role in it too. So like disappearing for 3 months plays a factor in everything in terms of family life and everything else. But it gives you like a basis point for just how long this has taken them to accomplish the funds, getting to places, everything else. Veneman?
The competitor in me said all 7 hands down. The realist in me said I wouldn't even get out of here.
That's kind of where
Although, if I did have Russ with me, there's no way he would let me not succeed, at least hit a few of them. I think we'd be a good combo together. But yeah, I think if I'm being real, probably not gonna make it too far unless my life or somebody else's life was on the line, or somebody I really loathe challenged me and said I couldn't do it. Then I would probably do it.
See, that's what I'm saying, man. My only strategy is like I'm in North America to start, and then that's where my resources with Bob come in. Because if we've got to rough it for a while, I think he can at least like pull me by the old bootstraps to survive for a certain amount of time. And if we could somehow, scrape together enough money, somehow, because the only way you're getting to Europe, unless you somehow got all the way to, you gotta get to Europe. Like if I can get to Europe, that puts me at 2, and then I think it's easy to hit Asia and really a short plane ride. So if you can get enough money to get to Europe, there's something you can do in Europe to trade. Cost of living's cheaper over there. If you get something in North America that's, maybe not worth as much here, but worth more over there, like you could get some money, and then I think you get Africa pretty easily, but like it's that first one. So it's like, if you can get to Europe, I think you can like bank 2 pretty easy, but I'm with you. I don't think I get out of North America.
I'm going to be, I think, the most realist out of the group. I think my ceiling is like 3. I think my absolute ceiling is 3. These guys, I think, do have a benefit where they started in Europe. And I think that plays, so because they're from Holland, they started in Europe, so they're very centrally located right out of the jump. So to your point, Hamilton, that like they had the ability to grab 3 very quickly. And that definitely plays to their ability to speed things up in terms of that. Starting in the U.S. and North America, you're very quickly going to have to figure out a plane situation to get somewhere else. Like, even to get to South America, you're generally going to have to figure out a plane situation. So, floor is like, I feel like I could figure out a way to get to 2, but man, I love my bed. I'm
Even
gonna.
then,
Oh,
yeah,
two
even then,
weeks is
starting
a
in North
long time.
America, to your point about the plane thing, even to get to South America, which I think if you start in North America is the next logical step. What's that? What's that? I listened to a podcast where it's like, is it the something gap? But like, you have to take a plane. Like, you're not traveling because eventually, like, you just run out of modern infrastructure to where like you're not taking a car all the way to South America. Like, you're not getting through Central America. I think it's like is it the
And
it'll hit
borders
me.
and everything else. Like, you're crossing through how many additional countries to get there in order to make that happen? Like,
Yeah,
that's the other thing.
Darien Gap is the geographic region that connects the American continents, and it's like the most dangerous place, like within the two continents, consisting of a large drainage basin, dense rainforest, and mountains. It's known for its remoteness, difficult terrain, and extreme environment, with a reputation as one of the most inhospitable regions in the world. So, if you're not on a plane, that's the region you have to cross to even get South America off your list. So, you're getting a plane no matter what.
Yeah, I think very, very difficult. I give these guys a lot of credit. It's very interesting YouTube content. I'm glad I stumbled upon it. Ruben Schmitz. I'll send both of you guys the link once we're done here. Very interesting channel. They're both pretty interesting guys too. So, good, good little podcast discussion. I thought that one would be fun. Cool little hash it out here. But I think that kind of puts a bow on episode 5 here. I don't know,
Yeah,
Veman, any other
so
takes?
no, it was great. Just a quick update on Warriors Rockets. Warriors are up 33-29 with 6 minutes to go in the second quarter. Steph Curry has 0 points. Buddy Hield is leading them with 13. So as we leave here, the Warriors are up by 4. So that's a quick update. Wanted to, again, give a shout-out to the Snack King, the Hall of Famer, Matt Hamilton. Appreciate you taking the time today to jump on with us. Want to thank again all of our listeners for hanging in there with us and giving us some feedback. And hopefully we'll be able to have a few more folks on here to get some more takes and kind of disagree with us and let us know where we stand and kind of put us in our place or build us up if you want to do that. We're never opposed to that. But cheers, fellas. Another episode. We didn't spill the mixie. So until next time, everybody have a great Cinco de Mayo, and we will catch you in the next episode. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.